You may or may not notice, but there's a lot more space in here lately. Blew $300 out my ass and bought a shed. Not bad, but you know, it holds nine plastic bins, so that's good enough to make more room in here. So to begin, it so happens in TTRPGs as a GM that your party, your players, will encounter some NPC or another. A guard, a farmer, a peasant woman, a child, an innkeeper. Can you think of any others? Maybe a bandit, a merchant, or a shopkeeper. There's not a lot of choices, really. And you can use these as a player, too, for your character's backstory. You know, where you came from before you became an adventurer. Why not expand on that? Sorry, why not expand on that? There's jobs that are a little more diverse and a little grittier. Think about the jobs nobody really wants to do, but they need to be done. Nobody wants to think about these jobs, let alone actually do them. But they still need to be done, so they pay really well. Real jobs, or good paying, and necessary jobs. You know, making your medieval fantasy world a little more real-life medieval. If nothing else, it just messes with your players a bit. The one question that everybody thinks about, you know, everybody's thought about it at one point or another, but nobody ever actually asks, especially in a fantasy medieval setting, where does all the poop go? Let's talk about that. How about, as an NPC, or as a backstory or history for your player character, a gong farmer. In the city, they'd be called night soil, but the overarching, generally accepted term is gong farmer. Description of the job: you start your day walking door to door with a shovel, a wheelbarrow, and a big cart. You get paid to go house to house, to the outhouse or the cesspit, shovel out all the poop, and carry it away. House by house, all day, for the whole town. If it's inside a city, then they're night soil, which means your day starts at sunset and ends at dawn. Either way, once your big cart is full, you lead your oxen or horses out of town, and all the waste gets shoveled off onto a big pile. You do this every day. In the late fall, once the ground starts to freeze and your products have fermented and composted all year, the farmers come to you and pay you again. This time, you do it all backwards. You load up the big cart, haul it all out into the fields, and spread it. Spread the poop all over to fertilize the ground over the winter, so the fields will be ready for planting in spring. As a gong farmer, you get paid twice for the same shit. As off-putting as that might be, these are some of the more financially advantaged among the peasant class, which is to say they've got money on par with elite or a reeve. A gong farmer's children are more likely than most to be able to get an education and improve their station in life. Next up, Among tanners, and the main reason that all the way back to the Roman Empire, tanneries were always built outside of the city limits and downwind of the city. Reason for this is something called pure. We have pure boys. That's the general term for them. Pure is the in-period and polite term for dog shit. The youngest apprentices among the tanners would be given a bag or a cart and tasked to travel the town and collect pure. The tanners need it. It's mixed into a slurry where the leather would soak after the hair was taken off of it, because it softens the leather. It allows it to more easily stretch and flatten. Dirty work, yes, very. And as in all the trade guilds, all the trades and all the guilds, the worst work goes to the newest and youngest of the apprentices. If they can deal with that part of the job and stick with it, then they're loyal to the craft and can learn further skills in later years. How about a backstory where your character started as a pure boy? Whether it's a boy or a girl, the term is pure boy. And remember, most trades and guilds start apprentices at age 7. Filthy children, but after a year or two, they'll move up the ladder to other tasks in the tannery. They'll still stink of tannery, but maybe stink slightly less than the pure boys do. I have a third one for you here. A little more interesting. Well, a little different. This one extends, as well as being medieval, it extends into the Renaissance, and the job changes. Where the gong farmer collects the solid waste from the household, the liquid was collected by the chamber lye men. Called it chamber lye instead of piss. Now picture a person pushing along a cart with a couple of barrels on it, open top barrels, sloshing. Going house to house, he or she knocks on the door and is answered with a coin and a full bedpan, which is emptied into the barrels. His or her day starts early. It has to. Oh wait, I have to turn something off apparently. It has to start early. He's got to pick up all the piss from the night before. Where did it go? And he has to do it and get to the door before the residents leave for work in the morning. Once the collecting's done, the day isn't over. The newest barrels have to be unloaded in the yards, sealed, and then the oldest barrels have to be loaded into the cart and brought to either the weaver, where the fermented urine will be used for its ammonia content for fulling the cloth, felting the surface of wool and making the weave tighter, or to the launderer, where again the ammonia content is important. It's for bleaching clothes white. Or in later times, to the powder men, where it'll be dried out further and the potassium nitrate residue, saltpeter, will be ground down and mixed with the other two ingredients to make black powder. Again, this is a job where you get paid twice for the same product. You get paid to take it away, and you wait for it to be mature, and then you get paid to take it to another person. You know, though few in number, these piss connoisseurs are well paid and better off than most peasants. They just smell like stale piss all the time. Now imagine laying this out as a part of your PC backstory, or as a GM, having your party in a situation where they have to interact with a urine merchant. Next one's a little less toilet related. Well, a lot less toilet related. But it's still not a desirable job no matter how well it pays. And it does pay well. Salt mining, which isn't always mining. It's always a lot of work. And there's a reason prisoners were sent to the salt mines in Siberia. But another method after the mining, or other than the mining, created a cleaner product. Bricotage. They'd use seawater or water from a salt marsh or dissolve rock salt in water after it comes out of the mine, making it even more work. They'd skim off impurities, filter it through cloth, and then drip through wooden troughs down into ceramic pots. Fill the pot with liquid, boil off the water. Fill it again, boil off the water, over and over again until it's full of a solid block of salt crystal. Clean, filtered, dripped down, and dried out. Clean, pure, hardened salt crystal. But imagine how much work it takes. It being such a slow and labor-intense process makes the salt valuable. And everybody needs salt. Whether you're providing salt licks for your animals, like a farmer, or pickling or preserving food, or sprinkling some on a bowl of gruel so it tastes a little less like gruel. Salt miners make more money than most people would expect. If they're only local, then just like the local mill and the local blacksmith, they would know everybody in town. Probably very well. If they're a bigger operation, then they'll have merchant caravans buying their product to sell in other towns and cities. There's a lot there for a GM to use in a game. Plus, it's another piece of backstory that a player could make use of. So you might notice through these examples that almost nothing gets wasted in a medieval society. Any time before the Industrial Revolution, nothing gets wasted. If there's a use for it, they'll use it. I mean, broken pottery was smashed down and ground up to mix in with new clay to make new pottery. Everything is recycled. So yes, your piss, your shit, the dog's shit, everything gets used. Another thing about these in particular is it gives a GM a good reason for there to be people out and about in a city or a town long before dawn and long after dark. All day, at every house, in every little hidden corner. Not just guards on patrol, but people out doing their jobs. They're alert, and they're aware of what was and wasn't normal to be seen on a given day or night. and who should and shouldn't be out and about. Now, it's an excuse for witnesses to be there and see it if your players are doing anything untoward. It's also a reason for witnesses to exist that might exonerate your players if they're accused of doing things they didn't do. All right. I think that should about do it for the best paying worst jobs. Let me know what you think. Give me ideas. Can you think of any other really bad jobs for a fantasy medieval setting? Tell me if you think I got anything wrong. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And as always, talk to you next time.